Hey, this is the One Storey Building podcast, the podcasts about stories, and storytellers tell us about the stories that they do when they are storytellers. And today's guest is Adrian Alaberg, Perth comedian, Australian comedian, online guy. I mean, I probably should have looked this up a bit before talking to you. What do you do, at least now? Because you've done stand-up and YouTube videos. What would you call yourself right now?
I like the umbrella term comedian. I'm someone who is professionally trying to be funny. So I think that's the umbrella term comedian is the easiest. At the moment, technically, like a streamer would be the main thing that I'm doing. And yeah, I don't know, content creator, I guess.
Right. Influencer.
I know, yeah, I try to just do everything I can to not say that, you know.
Okay, yeah, good. Perfect. So, but I want to go all the way back about 4 years to when you started your YouTube channel, because that's pretty much when I first saw you in the capacity of what you're doing now. Your YouTube channel, when you would do worst reviews and you would talk about stupid toys or great toys, food and all that stuff. Was there ever an intention for you with that kind of content to continue that forever? Or were you like testing the grounds for what kind of comedian you were?
I really enjoyed making that content. I didn't realize it until a bit later, but I really like free flowing, like have a format, have a structure. I knew that, okay, I'm going to review these things, but nothing scripted. So I really like that format. So I did that sort of just because I enjoyed it and I just wanted to make some sort of content. So that was sort of how I started that. And then pretty much realized that unfortunately, no one is going to watch an 8.5 minute video if they have no idea who you are. So I was getting like in the tens of views for that kind of stuff. And you know, while I was enjoying making the content, it was a massive time, a huge time expenditure.
Oh, yeah.
So I would film all afternoon. I would edit like half an hour more, like 2 hours of footage down to 8 minutes. And it was so tricky, all this to get like, 15 views.
Yeah.
And then one day I distinctly recall, I was chasing my cat around with my camera and a microphone, trying to interview her like a current affair. And I like these silly little ideas as well. I was like, let me give this a shot. And then that suddenly got like, I think like
900,000 views, I think right now.
That's
900,000
where it's at
views.
now.
Yeah.
Precisely. So I realized that, okay, if I enjoy making both kinds of content, one of them takes me 15 minutes and reaches that many people, and the other one takes me like 2 weeks, maybe I'm going to start making some short form content. And I sort of stuck with that since.
So above all, getting the attention to follow through and make more content for more people, that's the priority, at least then.
Well, it's a constant balancing act between the two, because there's the whole and it feels strange applying this to comedians, but it really is in its own way a form of art, right? So there's the artistic or the creative integrity thing where it's like, oh, I want to make exactly what I want to make and I want to express myself and I want to do this. But you need to balance that up with, well, I also want to do this for a living. Like, I like this so much, I want to do this every single day. And you need to, for that reason, start thinking about how you're going to make it sustainable. How are you going to be able to make a bit of an income? And on the internet, that comes from reaching more people. So I found that, okay, let me maybe start off just doing short stuff that I know works, chasing the relevant topics and anything that's big in the news or anything that's culturally significant. Let me make short videos on those sort of viral topics that will build me an audience. And then I can then later go back to the long form content once I've got people who are actually interested. No one wants to commit to, like I said, an 8.5 minute video of an absolute nobody. It's like, build a bit of an audience first, and then people will give your longer content a chance. So that's sort of where I'm at now, where I'm starting to do longer stuff with live streams and stuff, because I now have a bit of an audience, which is very exciting, and I didn't have that at the start.
Yeah, that's what I tell people who want to get into really any sort of art, especially online art, is that when you can't rely just on your love for doing what you're doing to carry you, because eventually you're going to put in effort that outweighs the result. And this happened to me years and years ago when I used to make internet videos. I was putting in more effort than what it was worth. And it seems so like, oh, I'm great, I deserve more. But it gets to you after a while when you put in effort and you're not really getting much in return, when people out there with real jobs are doing things kind of steadily, and you're just sort of suffering off to a corner doing what you love, but then the love for it just kind of fades away. You can't rely on passion to carry you.
True. And I think that's what a lot of people do in terms of trying to, as quick as they can, turn their art or their passion into a career. And so, you know, you get a lot of this sort of sentiment of like, oh no, you need to go 100% at it. You've got to drop everything else. This has got to be your thing. And like it does to a degree, but you can't expect to be, you know, making an income in your first year, 2 years, 3 years of doing this. And what's going to happen is that if you try and you have nothing else, you're going to get bitter, resentful. You're just going to lose the passion for it, because it's like, it becomes like a bit of a job when you're like, shit, man, I really need it. You know, I've got bills to pay. I've got this to do. I've got that to do. So you definitely want to be able to sustain yourself doing whatever work you can possibly do, even if it's 1 or 2 days of something else, but have this as keep the passion for it by not making it an absolute necessity, you know?
Yeah, and you have to create a library of your own stuff. You can't make one video that you think is going to be big. I mean, you see this with certain videos that go viral and you don't know who made them because that's all they ever did. And then you compare it to other videos that people who already have a backlog of stuff, they get more attention because people are drawn to it, and then they can feast on like previous things that they've done. But was there, I mean, was there a point in the early year or two of you making your stuff that you thought that it just wasn't worth it and you should stop?
Honestly, there actually wasn't. That was probably again from the not making it like a constant 24/7 struggle, not constantly trying to make a living out of it. I knew that I would eventually, but I just enjoy it so much that I was like, this is my hobby. Like I have no other hobbies. Like there's a surfboard behind me that I don't use it. So there's like this is what I do for fun. So I think that's it. I had my job and I kept just plugging away at the videos, and it takes a weird mix of like realism and a strange like blind faith. Like I've just known since I started. It is pipe dreaming, yeah. And you don't need to go and tell everyone that, but you need to tell yourself that. You need to honestly, because I find it very annoying when people are overly pushy about it. Nah, man, I'm going to do this all 100%. Man, I'm going to be a millionaire. And it's like, you know, keep it to yourself, but you do need to have pretty unrealistic standards of where you're going to get. But you need to have a solid plan to get there. Like you need to be like, yep, I'm going to upload a video every single week, or I'm going to do this. And yeah, in this industry where there's a lot of people trying for it, you do need to plug away and work quite hard at it, have quite high hopes for it, but don't expect results quickly. It does take time.
Your ability to share your stuff around effectively and plug stuff, was that something that you were thinking of right from the start, or was it a skill that you improved upon over time?
That is not what I was thinking of at the start, but absolutely, like I had to figure out how to do it. And I had no role model to teach me how to do it. So like I would, like I said, like there's some ridiculous statistic, like there's like tens of thousands of hours of content that gets uploaded to YouTube every minute. It's ridiculous. So people will often make a video, and it could be a really good video. Put it on YouTube and be like, oh, that's it, I'm gonna blow up now. But no, it doesn't happen like that. So this with you know, not just making online content, but with comedy as well, like with stand-up comedy, there's sort of two sides to it that people always neglect. Is that you've got the talent and the skill side. It's like you need to be good at being funny or good at making content, whatever it is. But if you want to make it, like consider yourself a business. You know what I mean? Like consider yourself like you need to have a marketing side as well. You need to have a business marketing side. So I would make content. And so what got a lot of my followers is that I would make a video and I would then spend almost the same time that I spent making the video trying to get it out. So I would go to like, I found a Reddit. So Reddit is really good for that. So I found like a Reddit subreddit called YouTube Haiku, and it's basically like short videos. So I was like, cool, this seems like the place to be. And so I posted a video. I think that's where the cat one went, to be honest. I think that's where I put that one first. I was like, whatever, let's just see how it goes. And then that was the difference between, you know, what would have been probably 20 views and 60,000 views, because it went on this subreddit, it went somewhere external to YouTube, and a community of people who are there because they're interested in that particular thing saw it. So that's sort of what you need to do. You need to brainstorm. Okay, I've made this video, whatever it's about, where online can I find a group of people who are remotely interested in this? You're not going to find that on YouTube, but you'll find that elsewhere. So you plug your YouTube video in that other place. And I started getting really creative, man. I used to make GIFs out of my videos and put them on meme pages and then have a link to my thing down the bottom. Yeah, so I used to obsess over this. I used to really think, how can I get these videos out? Mind you, I do a lot less of that now. But back before, that's what I did for every video. And then I would start to actually make videos with the intention of, like, I would know where they were going to go before I made them. So I'd tailor them just that little bit, you know what I mean? So it's like these little clever things that I found just were made a huge difference in terms of the views.
Your video that you made, I think it could have been even 2 years ago. I'd say at least a year ago, where, what was it exactly? Where you were like a journalist for like Vice or some kind of online thing, and you threw the like sticky dildo thing at the wall. I've seen that video used by other people who I know don't know who you are, people from like America and Europe, who put it in their videos as gags. I mean, did you ever expect to make when you made that video, did you think that it would be somewhat bigger than your other ones? Because that one, I mean, I would say that it went viral, possibly. Would you say that?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's probably my biggest, by far the biggest video, the most viral for sure. I learned just quickly, I learned something from that, and this is a good take home for anyone, is watermark your videos. So that's a big thing. Watermark your videos, because of course it's the one that you don't watermark that goes really.
But then it's like when people copy other people's artwork and then retweet it on Twitter. They nudge it up a little bit, and then they get in trouble.
Yeah, that always does. That always will happen. But you know, like after a while, I was like, you know what? I'm just happy that it's out there. Like it's really good. Joe Rogan retweeted that, believe it or not. That blew me away. That was one of those moments like, wow, really? Like, but to the question, I did not expect that at all. I have a little, all my videos I find funny. Otherwise I wouldn't have uploaded them. But like, it's hard to tell. It really is hard to tell. Sometimes you have a good idea. You're like, yeah, this will do pretty well. But you can never expect, the really big ones. Like that one was, I woke up in the morning and I was plugging away at YouTube trying to get subscribers, and I woke up and I had 100 new subscribers, and that was so exciting. I was like, oh my, this is amazing. And then just from that day on, then it just someone posted it on Twitter, and it just once it's out, then people just take it and throw it all over the place, you know. And I had a Vice journalist contact me, and they used it in an actual Vice video. So really? It's just, I don't know where that is now.
But you're mocking them. But I guess if they sort of accept it, then they've created like their own sort of meta sort of shield against it. They can sort of lampshade themselves and protect themselves.
Yeah. Well, it's probably what I would do in their position, to be honest. That's what
totally.
You got to run with it.
We're totally in the joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, be sure to watermark your. So you do that now. You have your name just like plastered 50% opacity over the whole thing.
Yeah, no, 100% opacity just ruins the whole video. No, I well Now, what really changed for me and my content was TikTok. So, I mean, there's a stereotype that TikTok's full of just teenagers dancing on camera, and while that is true,
Mhm.
that's when you first get the app and it hasn't figured out what you're actually into.
Mm.
And then it starts to show you
Right.
content that's
Yes. Yeah,
tailored to
that's
you.
that's what happened to
Yeah,
me when I was on Instagram. It was all like a bunch of girls doing like stupid dancing
yeah,
with like
yeah.
text around. It's like, is this all it is? And then it turned into like nerdy Avengers, Star Wars stuff. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it knows what I want. But I wanted to get to this because I haven't touched TikTok. I don't even know what TikTok is. It just seems
Mm.
like Instagram and Tumblr had a baby. What is TikTok? Because I truly, genuinely don't really know.
Okay. TikTok is all right. Where Instagram is more focused on individual accounts and the profile of that person. You go through their stuff and you can see like a gallery of the person. TikTok is more sort of content driven in the sense that it's like you're the viewer, and the first thing that you see is essentially a full screen video that will just keep going, right? So they have figured out very well how to keep you watching, and obviously keep you watching ads. But it's a video sharing platform, but it's all tailored to like short videos, and it sort of keeps it under 1 minute. I believe yesterday they just updated it so that now you can share longer videos, but it's very tailored toward the short attention span, quick video format. So it's just this never-ending scroll of videos, and so that's why people get really hooked on it, is because that it just doesn't end. You just keep going.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but it's very good because they have, in my opinion, the best algorithm for the viewer in terms of you'll see what you want to see, and also it's much better for the creator. So I will upload the same content on TikTok and Instagram. Truth be told, my Instagram following will steadily drop. So I'll gain like 3 or 4 or 8 followers a day, but I'll always drop by like 10. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a strange, because the content doesn't go to anyone else. It's very hard to grow on Instagram. It's sort of, you need to be shared by bigger pages, and that's my growth on Instagram has just been me constantly reaching out to bigger pages, and then you get a big share, and then you get a big bump, and then it does that steady decline. Whereas TikTok, their algorithm is very good, and they're very good for creators because they show your video to a handful of your viewers, right? Let's say you've got 1,000 followers, they might show 50 of them your video. And if there's like a good ratio of engagement, and they base that mostly on comments and shares, likes are, okay, but comments and shares are essentially what they want. They want people talking about your video. They want people sending it to their mates. If that goes well, then they start to show your video to people who don't follow you. And as a creator, that's what you want. You want to grow. And so you suddenly have a video that is just like, you look through your gallery of the videos that you've uploaded, and it'll be like, when you first start out, it might be like 50, 25 views, this, and then all of a sudden you'll have like 30,000, right? Because this one works well with people who are vaguely interested in this topic. And so they start to show it, and then that's how it goes really viral on TikTok.
Yet the trend that I'm seeing nowadays, and I've talked about this with pretty much everyone that I've talked to here, is that everything's becoming so online and global. Live stuff doesn't really seem to be growing at all. And I mean, are you adapting to this? I mean, have you been doing any more stand-up or any more live stuff, or do you think there's any future with that? Or do you think it's all going to be online, a bunch of every content creator is just going to be one of a billion people that create a series of 10-second videos? Is that the future?
This is the dystopian future that I hope we move to. No, I'm not sure. I've actually pondered this myself, because while the internet and online content is growing, I still think live stuff is Live stuff is a social thing. You know, you go with your friends to a live show, you buy tickets for your family to something. So I think that side of it will never end. So I'm sort of thinking of it like gaming, right? So when I was a kid, like playing games was something, you know, my cousins would come over or my friends would come over and we'd have 2 PlayStation controllers and we'd verse each other in a game. And then as I got older, gaming increasingly became a thing that you do by yourself. You know, you might play online, but you are by yourself. So I imagine that it could be like that, where it's like now we have access to entertainment, you know, off the tap, when we're by ourselves, when we're at home, when we're, you know, laying in bed, that sort of thing. But there's always that need for social entertainment. You know, 50 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot you could really do by yourself, or even further back, you know, it was all live entertainment. You can't really, you know, you're not scrolling through anything.
Maybe that's why golf became so popular as time went on, but or back then, because people just wanted to be alone. So I need to do something where no one else can join in. But I still play Call of Duty with my friends every couple of weeks, just so we're in the same room. I mean, I don't think I've really played online really more than 5 times in my life. It's just not really the same to having the people in the room. I mean, like I've of course, unsurprisingly, laughed more out loud to a comedian on stage than I have from like the funniest TV show of all time, because the fact that there's that wall there just sort of isolates you. But that's what you do. You've got the wall. So I mean, is this a worthwhile trade-off to jump off the stage onto virtual land and have that wall in front of you, the screen?
Well, like I really enjoyed stand-up, but it was never what I ultimately wanted to do. So I like stand-up I have a deep respect for stand-up because it's like the purest form of comedy, right? So I consider myself a comedian, but not like, you know, stand-up comedy is the purest way that you can be there and with nothing else make this group of people laugh. You know, you have nothing to rely on. You've got nothing, like it's just you saying funny things to these people and you get an immediate response. You know what I mean? Whereas with online content, with, you know, if you're in the, you know, on TV or whatever it is you're doing, you don't have that immediate feedback. You know, you just have to hope. So I do love the art of stand-up. But for me, it was like, I started when I was a kid, making videos on the VHS, the big camcorder, just to copy my brother, because, you know, he did that. And so I always really liked making videos and, you know, doing like even little sketches and stuff. Like, always preferred being on camera and making that sort of stuff. And then I got into stand-up just because I thought I could tell some jokes and I could be funny. But after being in stand-up for like 2 years, I then started making videos again. I hadn't done that since I was like a teenager. And then started to remember why I really liked doing that. Like, you know, being able to tell a story like that. And yeah, I don't know. I just found that I love that a lot more. And so I never wanted to be like most comedians want to be like an arena comedian. So that's sort of the goal, is to be able to sell out, you know, arenas around the world, stadiums and stuff, and present to a crowd. And while I respect that, it's not really what I want to do. I've always preferred video content.
Yeah, that was pretty much what I did when I started doing stand-up. I haven't done it. I've done it maybe less than 20 times in my life, but I did it not because I wanted to be a stand-up comedian or a comedian, just because I wanted to practice telling jokes. I mean, so you said that you never intended to become a big arena comedian. Did you do it just to practice, or did you think that you had some obligation to do it? Because I did. That's why I did it. I thought, well, I'm a funny guy who writes stuff.
Yeah.
Therefore, I have to be this comedian. I looked into the future and saw my Wikipedia page and said Cody Fulberg did stand up and blah, 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 and then he went to Hollywood. I saw stand up there, so I thought, well, I have to do it, and I didn't really enjoy doing it. I was fine, but I was happy to leave. So you don't do it anymore?
No, I don't do it anymore. I haven't done stand-up for not at all. I haven't done it for 2 years. No, more, wow. I think. No, I don't do it anymore. I see what you're saying about that obligation side of things. And you know what's really interesting, actually? I find that there's almost this, I think within the stand-up community as well, there is this sort of dismissing of people who sort of built their audience online. So there's this. So, because that's one way that you can very easily sell out your stand-up shows. Okay, you can either go the one route of, you know, start as a you know, bottom level open mic comedian, work your way up, really slug it out. And then, you know, maybe people find you funny, maybe people put you on a bill, and then you get your first comedy gig. And like when I got my first paid comedy gig, I made $60, and it was the most exciting thing, just for the sake that people were giving me money to do comedy. I can't believe it. It was like, wow, people like me enough to give me $60.
And then you did online content, and you made $1 in in a year,
pretty much. Yeah, and then so there's that way of doing it, or there's people who had done comedy for like a year, made a viral video, blew up, and then now they just tour around, you know, with their name on these stadiums, or, you know, not stadiums, or theaters and stuff, and they sell out. But I've seen a few of these shows, and you can tell. You can tell that, yes, you know, while
you can tell, but can the audiences that are there, because of the virality of the person, do you think they can tell? Do you think they care, or are they just happy to be in the room with the viral person?
I'm not going to name names, but I did once go to a show with a content creator. He had started in stand-up, but got very big as a content creator. And after the show was okay. And after the show, one of his audience members came up, and while he was signing merch and stuff, he's like, "Mate, you're a much better YouTuber than you are a comedian." And he walked off, and it broke him for the night. He was really upset about that.
But you spoke to him, and he seemed upset. Did you talk to him? Did you know him as a comedian?
Yeah, no, we're hanging out that night. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was, it's this thing that it's like almost like stand-up is like the elite comedy. You know what I mean? You know, the whole thing of like jazz being like the elite music. It's like, oh, like stand-up is the elite form of comedy. It's like, if you're like a real purist, you're like, oh no, if you are a comedian, you have to work at this craft for years and years and years. And that's how long it takes, man. Like to make a living doing comedy, you need to be in the trenches for a very long time until you work up a name for yourself and you get out there and this is this. So then I think there's a bit of blowback from the establishment comedians who are like, oh, this dude just made a video and got all these followers and now he's selling out shows. You know, here I've been at these pubs performing to 30 people every Tuesday night and no one knows who I am. So there is that level of elitism and pretension as well. But like I said, I really respect stand-up. I really respect the form of it, the art form of it. But it just depends on what you want to do. I've never wanted to be a stand-up comedian. It was like, I want to practice. Like you said, I want to try getting good at telling jokes. I want to see how funny I am in real time. And honestly, when I started, it was like a bucket list thing. I started when I was 18. I did one set when I was 18 as a bucket list thing. It was the scariest thing I've ever done. It was terrifying. It went okay. I wasn't booed off stage, and then I didn't do anything for 3 years, and then I got back into it. So that was my entry to comedy.
What I found is that this is true for me at least, people's first time doing stand-up is actually pretty good. It's the second and third time that sort of dips a little bit because they try really hard to do one really good first set, and then they're like, oh, this is easy. And then they try less hard on the second and third ones. Now you waited 3 years, so you had 3 years to work on material. I mean, which I didn't.
Okay,
you jumped up the second time and then just improv'd your way through it.
Yeah.
I mean, now that you're doing online stuff, what's the process of doing jokes, doing video story narrative comedy skits? Like, what's the process of coming up with a funny video, and how does that compare to doing jokes live stand-up?
With videos, you've got one chance at it. With stand-up, you are refining something over a long period of time. So there was some well-known comedians in Perth who told me, they were like, I remember talking early on or asking early on, I was like, how do you how do you know if a joke's good? And he's like, okay, so I'll go to an open mic with a new joke. I'll try it. And if it goes well, awesome. I'll try it again at an open mic. If it goes well again, I'll try it again at an open mic. Once it's done well in 3 different rooms with 3 different crowds, that's a good joke. I can now start working on that. I can now bring that to my paid shows. I can now, that becomes a good joke, a usable joke. Whereas with videos, you don't know. You don't really have anyone to bounce it off. You can ask your mates. You're not always you're getting a very biased view from your friends because they all have the same sense of humor as you generally. So with stand-up, you work on it over a longer period of time. With my videos, I think it's a mix, sometimes I'll sit there and actively try and think of an idea, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. And other times something will just come to you throughout the day. And then, it'll be some little, relatable observation. And then you just work on that. So then once, the idea comes to you in a very raw form, and then you sit there being like, okay, how can I now make this funnier to an audience member? How can I punch it up in places? How would I add more little, punchlines and taglines and stuff in there? So the idea will come, and then it'll take, probably another 20, 30 minutes of writing before it becomes good enough to film.
I'm afraid I've put you in the position where you're explaining to the audience, where do you get your ideas, which is the worst question to ask anyone. But right. I've never really thought about how you explained it about people telling a joke during an open mic and then using it again and again. That's sort of like the blessing curse thing going on with stand-up, because with online stuff, when you make something that gets big, the world sees it. When you do something for stand-up and it's a huge laugh, 20 people maybe see it, and they can't share their memories until we have computers in our brains. That'll be later. But the good thing is, if you suck when you're a stand-up, the world doesn't know. But if your video sucks, then the world knows.
Yeah, correct.
It's quite a trade-off.
Yeah. No, that's and I have sucked on stage. Let me tell you, there is always
no one knows. So it's all good.
Well, my comedian friends like to remind me, but other than that, no one other than the people who are at Decanter Bar 4 years ago know.
And you've brought on other comedians, like Perth comedians, Australian comedians, to be in your videos. How'd you get them? How'd you ask them?
So I think you'd be referring to the video with Neil and or Rory.
Yeah,
I assume. Yeah. So I mean, like a lot of them, like Rory, I know through stand up. And so so I just wanted to collab with him, and we had ideas and stuff, and I would just send messages basically, be like, hey man, can you work on an idea? Here's what do you think? And generally content creators, it works in everyone's favor. If you're a content creator, it works in your favor and others to collaborate, because you cross-pollinate your audiences and they can check you out and vice versa. With Neil, I reached out to him ages ago. I can't remember why. I think I just emailed him. I was again in that like hardcore marketing phase where I was like, I need to collaborate with bigger people. I also don't have any peers in this industry. With stand-up, you're surrounded by people who are doing what you're doing. In this, it's a very isolating job. You're not, you don't have like a group, or you don't have colleagues or acquaintances. It's like you're just doing this from your study by yourself. So I just felt like reaching out to someone who I liked and whose content was good. I just sent him a big formal sort of email, and he replied. And then I saw him like one of my videos. I think it was the Vice video actually, and following me. And then I just got back in touch. And then when I went to Sydney for work for the Channel 9 stuff, then I was like, hey man, like, do you want to catch up? And we did. And then eventually came up with an idea, and he's like, yeah, sweet, let's do it. So
you worked for Channel 9 as a presenter, right?
Yes. I was a weather and lifestyle presenter on Today Perth.
So how did they find out about you, and how did they contact you and get you on board?
Yeah, so that was, I made a video a
Mocking
while back.
Nine, and they were like, "Come on board, just have shade, we're fine,
Yeah,
it's all good."
It was like the Vice video. No, it was a video about. I made one about like I don't know if you saw the sculptures by the sea.
Yeah,
And it was like that one there, really silly, but that managed to do pretty well in its own right. And then a fellow comedian was like, "Hey, I do some stuff with Nine. They're always looking for other talent to put on screen. Like, would you be keen?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I sent them an email, and I was like, "Yeah, look, I'm keen. I'd love to do this. No worries." And they were like, "Yeah, we'll see how we go. No worries." And then in a few months' time, I remember being at uni and I got an email, and they were like, "Oh, we've had a cancellation. Are you able to come in?" Like, I would have been like the last resort, and I immediately panicked. I was like, "Oh my God. I've never been on TV before." I was like, "This is," but it's in that moment that you're like, "Man, just do it. Just do it." And so like I pushed through and I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to do it. If I fail abysmally, it'll make for a viral clip that I can use in the future. If it goes well, awesome." And so, so I got this 5-minute spot on what's called the Pulse of Perth. And so I still do it to this day. It's like a little news talk segment where they bring up like wacky news stories and you give your opinions on them. And so they got me and someone else. They get like just Perth people. And so I went in there, did that, and just it went well. Like it went pretty good. I was blown away. I couldn't believe that I didn't just stumble or make mistakes on air. And then they just kept calling me back. And so they kept calling me back, and that was just a guest spot every 5 minutes. Every 2 weeks for 5 minutes at a time. And I just kept doing that. But even there, like I think with any sort of creative pursuit or anything like this, you need to realize those opportunities and really seize them. So what I would do is that most other people because they have a pool of talent that they take from, and some of them are well-known lawyers, some of them are journos. They're just like a mix of people. I would turn up like an hour early, right? So that we would go live at like 5:30. I'd turn up like 4:30. I would sit at the cafe. I would read over the topics, and I would just write little jokes, little tags, little punchlines, until I had like strong content for every single one. And then I would go in and essentially play it off as if I'd thought of it on the spot.
Just like a comedian.
And no one, yeah. Not unlike a comedian. So I just kept doing that. And I think that really did make the difference because, everyone else would stumble and everyone else would they would just give very basic opinions because, they were just reacting to the thing. But I had pre-planned and I'd been like, no, I'm going to try and be the most entertaining of all the people they bring on this show. And that doesn't just happen. You need to plan. So I did that. And I had done that for like about a year and a half. And then one day, just randomly, did not expect it at all. I got a call from the executive producer of Today Perth, which was our version of the Today Show. And she was like, "Hey, look, we've got this role. We're looking for a lifestyle weather, like a roving reporter. Would you be keen to do it?" And it was like the most exciting phone call I've ever had in my life. So I absolutely took the opportunity. And so all of 2019, I did that. So that was every morning, full time. In 2019, and then
Were you still at uni when you were doing this?
No. So I had stopped. I had finished uni in 2018. Trying to get the timeline right here.
You got a journalism degree or something like that?
No, that's the most amazing thing. I was like the only person in the building with no journalism experience. And it's so weird, man. They call on me for like my opinion on news stories. I'm like, dude, why are you asking me? What would I know?
You've got funny quips.
Yeah, I make memes on the internet. Why are you asking me? So no, I finished my degree. I studied a double degree of psychology and English, and then teaching. So I'm qualified to be an English teacher, believe it or not. So I finished that, and then
that's important for a streamer.
Oh yes. There's a lot of teenage viewers, so yeah. I finished my degree, and then I was like, I could get into teaching now, and I would probably really enjoy it, right? But I knew that there was something with the comedy and with the videos and that sort of stuff, and so I was like, if I start teaching now, I'm going to enjoy the security. I'm going to enjoy having an income. I'm going to, probably at some point buy a house, and I'm just not going to give the artistic side of things the time that it deserves. And so I was like, let me just take a year. Let me just take 1 year and see what happens. So I was like, I worked like very dirty jobs, but just enough to pay the bills. And I was like, 2-3 days a week, and then spend the rest of my time writing. And then like, even when I was at work, it was quite a menial job, a repetitive task. And I would, just be thinking of ideas and writing. And then, somewhere in there, I got that job at 9. And so then I didn't need to go and teach. I went straight into the 9 work.
I find that those kinds of people who have real jobs, but then do creative endeavors around it, those seem to be the kind of creative people that I admire more than people that just jump right into being an actor or a writer. I mean, were you nervous about being the kind of person who wasn't doing this all the time? Like, did your comedian friends have any sort of problem with you leaving comedy, doing sort of real work?
Not really. I mean, like, it's just so hard to sustain yourself in Perth. Like, as a stand-up, it's almost impossible. Like, you need to, like, I know like a handful of, probably, no, really like 1 or 2 people in Perth who are making a full-time living from stand-up, and they need to travel constantly. Like, they need to do cruise ship gigs. They need to, try and find corporate MC work. And it's a lot of work, and it's very hard. You need to travel a lot. And if you're in a relationship or you've got a family, it's like, it's very hard to maintain just in Perth. So you need to inevitably move over east or something like that. But no, I think, a lot of people in the scene just are doing precisely that. They just need to work, and they try and do this on the side, and with varying degrees of success.
Yeah, well, I think that's good. That's sort of what I do. People who have like a 9 to 5, and then at 7:30 at night they go to a pub and do stand up.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
There's no shame. There's no shame in it. A lot of people, like you want to say that you're a comedian, and you don't want to say that. No, I actually work at Coles.
Do you want to say I'm a comedian?
I do at this point. I think it's nice. It depends. Yeah, no, it does depend. But you need to pay the bills. You need to live.
And you're streaming now. Is that your priority? Does that take up most of your time? Because isn't that hours of you?
Pretty much, yeah. That is something I started during lockdown when I came back from Sydney in January. And I was locked down at my parents' house because they had a house big enough that I could actually be in my own room and not have to hotel quarantine. And I had someone, I used to do live streams on a Sunday night, just for a tiny number of people. But it was just fun. Like, I'd just go and like review videos. I'd like watch memes or something, but it was just a way that I could interact with the people who were watching me, because it's a one-way thing. There's not a whole lot of interaction back, So I did these Sunday night lives, I would call them, ages ago. And then when I was in lockdown this year, a guy who would regularly watch, he's like, "Hey man, I do a lot of Twitch modding, and Twitch is the website that I live stream on." He's like, "I do a lot of this modding. I reckon you should get back into the lives. Like, I really enjoy them. I think you're good at it." And I was like, you know what? I got 2 weeks and nothing to do. Why not? And so I started doing the live streams again, just for a bit of fun. And what was crazy is that it grew at an exponential rate. It started, it just, like month after month, it was going so well that like last month it became my full-time income. So it's crazy. Yeah. And it's Twitch, like live streaming suits me so well because it's what I like to do. Like I work in live TV, and I enjoy just being off the cuff like this. So it's just, like I really enjoy it. And it's like you've got your own TV show for 2.5 hours, so Twitch is, initially it was like all about gaming, and it's like, like you can do gaming, and I do like once or twice a week. But I think why people might enjoy my content is that because I just do sort of very unusual. I keep it very fresh. So every Tuesday I'm cooking some, recipe that's way too hard for me. So that's always chaotic and exciting. Every Friday I'm, going IRL. So, I'm walking around with my phone doing something, or we blew up a watermelon with Lackey Bands once. So just interesting content that, people scrolling past, but okay, I want to check this out. What's going on here?
This is the world where that we live in, where someone can go to school for 20 years and become a successful businessman, but then someone can have a live stream for 2 months and then out earn them.
Well, yeah, I don't think I'm out earning a businessman yet, but it is.
Well,
it is amazing that
you're not a 19-year-old girl with like a
no
chibi Japanese voice.
Yeah. Look, that was the vision, but haven't gotten there just yet.
Yeah, the moustache isn't helping.
yeah, no, not quite. I mean, on that, streaming is a world that was confusing and scary to me, and still is to a degree, but people do not really understand. It's really weird, man. It's like trying to explain to people what I do is hard, especially, older people. But what's really interesting about live streaming and why I really like it is that you've got like the same people will tune in every day for 2.5 hours. So my streams go for 2 to 2.5 hours. But it's really unique in that you've got a real community there. You've got a group of people who, from all over the world who come together always at that time every single day, and they've got personal jokes with each other, and they've got like a little Discord group now where they're all friends and they talk and stuff. So I think live streaming is a really good format for creators, and it's I sort of see that as I see it firstly definitely as growing. Like a lot of platforms are investing in it. So you've got like TikTok's really pushing live streaming at the moment, and Instagram's really pushing it, and YouTube's really pushing it. So that, if these big tech companies are pushing it, they see it as a growing industry. But yeah, like it's a very unique medium. And it's like watching a TV show where you can talk to the presenter, and you can have an effect on what's happening during the show. And that's what people love. Yeah.
Does your community have any memes or phrases that have grown over the months that you've been doing this?
Probably. I have a bit of an ongoing joke with hang on a sec. I have these just these random little ducks that I'm constantly just putting in the stream. And it's just just little bits and pieces. I shaved this mustache for the stream, funnily enough. So yeah, there's all kinds of little things. My brother gets involved now and then, so he's become like a regular character now as well. So yeah, it's a really interesting sort of world, this whole live streaming.
So why the mustache? It isn't November yet.
No, it's not November. I think someone dropped a big donation. I think I'd said I'll shave. I talked about clean shaving. I was like, I haven't clean shaved in so long. And then someone just dropped a big donation. It was like, you should clean shave. They were like, I'm gonna pay you this much to clean shave. I was like, Jesus, okay. Well, I felt bad at that point. I was like, you know what? He's already parted with it. So I started clean shaving in the next stream. And then I got to the mustache bit, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a go. I think I'm just going to leave it like this for a little while. And I did. And so now I'm just rocking the mustache.
What's clean shaving?
Well, as in like totally like with a razor, like shaving, like to have no facial hair. Like I've always had stuff.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was no foam. You just get like a butter knife and like do it really, really finely. Like a
yeah, it's a hot new trend on TikTok.
Clean shaving. Kids are doing. Yeah. Well, I guess that brings us to the last part of the One Storey Building podcast, where I ask the most important question, which is the question that I leave for last, and I ask all of the guests this question. So as a comedian, umbrella term comedian, as a streamer, as a content creator, as not an influencer, why are stories important?
Stories are how I think we think. Like I think we think best in stories, and we are most receptive to stories. So, like you can tell someone a lesson, you can try and teach them something, but a story is the best way to. And so, yeah, I think stories are the way that we are naturally tuned into understanding things. And so everything that, I don't know, this is quite a hefty question. I feel like I need to think about this more. We're perceptive to stories. We love stories. I like giving stories. We like receiving stories. I think stories are the way in which humans understand the world around them.
Have you found that comes up during your streams? Is there a narrative element to your streams, how they have a beginning, middle, and end? Do you try and put that in there?
I find that like I don't intentionally do it, but I feel like it'll just like seep into it. You know what I mean? Like I might play a character, like I'll put on an accent like as a joke, and then so I've got like this thing on the channel where it's like you can redeem an accent, right? So this is why Twitch is a bit confusing, but you can accrue channel points for how long you've watched, and then people can spend those points on certain things. So one of them is like an accent change. So they'd be like, Adrian now talking a Swedish accent, whatever, or a German accent. And so I will then do that. But what I'm finding is always happening is that I just slip into whatever character it is, and then that becomes a recurring story. And then I just naturally give this German professor a story, and then every time the accent redeem comes up again in a few episodes time, we're back into the story. So like it's I think we do tend to fall back into that story trench, the story like structure. So it seems to stories pepper themselves into the stream.
So before we end this, I'm sure that you would like to plug all of your stuff. Where can they find more Adrian Alaberg stuff? Where's your Twitch? Where's your Facebook? Where's your MySpace? Where's your Gmail? Where's your address?
Yes, add me. Come, just don't even add me on anything. Just come straight to my house, guys. Literally follow me. Instagram, Adrian.Alaberg, or on Twitch, which is just Adrian Alaberg. So type that name into either of those websites and you'll find me there.
All right, nice. Well, thanks for coming on.
Awesome. No worries. Thanks for having me. It's good fun.